Hello, friends. Welcome to The Mothers, where we like to talk to mothers out there making a dent in the universe and raising kids. Holy shit. And ask them questions about not their kids, not their parenting, not hacking corporate life, but about them, their identity, their self, their priorities, their ambition, their purpose, and celebrate them. It's been so fantastic to reach out to these badass folks, get them on the pod, and have V and me just tell them how awesome they are and have them tell us how it's been hard, but real and important. And then we hug and we cry and we know, heal the world. So speaking of healing the world, today's guest is not afraid to do just that, very much out loud. We have Dr. Jessica Zucker, who is really on a mission to use the power of story to destigmatize issues that often fall on the shoulders of the non-majority groups. Dr. Zucker, who said I could call her Jessica, is an LA-based psychologist specializing in reproductive health and is the heart and mind and power behind the award-winning book I Had a Miscarriage, as well as the viral #IHadAMiscarriage campaign, 500,000 strong. Her writing has appeared in the New York Times, the Washington Post, New York Magazine, Vogue, and Harvard Business Review, among others. She's been featured on NPR, CNN, The Today Show, and Good Morning America, and earned advanced degrees from New York University and Harvard. Her second book, Normalize It, Upending the Silent Stigma and Shame That Shape Women's Lives, is out today, if you're listening on time, on Tuesday, April 22nd, and is available anywhere books are sold. In this wide-ranging conversation, V and I get to the heart of this woman who has been through so much and is determined to not just heal herself through the process, but turn her experiences into something useful for all of us. She is an incredibly resilient human, having navigated a particularly traumatic miscarriage, breast cancer, and the daily oppressions of life if lived while paying attention, all while running her psychology practice and ultimately raising 2 kids. This episode is also special in that it was almost completely sabotaged by tech, which almost always works, but often rarely works when you absolutely need it. You'll hear some candid behind-the-scenes moments as we all fought through some dicey times due to bad Wi-Fi, maybe an earthquake, who even knows. But we persevered. Through the messiness, we persevered, which is honestly the theme of this whole conversation. So we left it in, mostly. Also, a heads up, we do briefly discuss Jessica's miscarriage around minute 4 once our conversation starts. So feel free to listen or jump beyond that, whatever is best for you. So with that, please enjoy our conversation with Dr. Jessica Zucker.
Couple of times on podcasts I've recorded. I love the idea of it, but trying to ask specific questions about composite patients that I have in the book. I wrote it a while ago. So and I'm going through perimenopause and I'm on tamoxifen. So I can't remember the details of every single thing that is in the book.
Oh yeah.
We won't.
No.
You're not doing that. Okay.
Not to worry.
Yeah.
This is about you and whatever you can remember about you. Doesn't have to be the full story.
See, we should be recording right now because that was really funny that you said that. Oh my God.
We are recording, not to scare you.
Oh, good. You should use that. That was hilarious that you just said that.
Yeah.
Anything you can remember about you. That's great. Yeah.
Yes. So I do have some questions that are sort of inspired by themes of the book, but are certainly not at all details on the faux patients. So where we like to start often, and I should say also, yay, so happy that you're here.
Yes, we're so happy.
So excited to have you. Love the platform that you've built and the authenticity behind that, and how brave you are, which feels like an unfair ask and is what often the first person has to be brave, and then the next people can be brave in different ways. But
I'm going to get emotional. Thank you.
Oh, good. But I was really thrilled that you would reach out and that you felt like this was a platform where you could share the real story of life and us, because that's what the Mothers is really intended to be. Like, we see all these incredible women, mothers out there in the world trying to make a dent in the universe. And then you learn they're also raising kids and you're like, how the fuck is this happening? Like, they're doing
100%
all of these things at the highest level. And how are they doing that? And also, how are they? This is an impossible juggling act, and they're doing it, which is, we're so grateful for that. But also, what's the reality behind this experience? which can't all be butterflies and rainbows.
Nope.
So that's kind of where we want to get into today, and which very much aligns with your mission to destigmatize, which is like
Yes.
the crux
Yes.
of this.
I love that.
What I like to start with is having folks walk us through their story as they would tell it to how we get to the Jessica of today. And then I'm always curious as people are telling the story, and this feels like you're sitting down on the therapist couch. This is probably what you say. What brings you here?
Yes.
And as you're thinking about it, are there any through lines for you?
Well, it's interesting because I'm so used to talking about how I got here professionally, but for me, the professional and the personal are so closely tied.
Yeah.
So, as you know, I'm a psychologist. I specialize in women's reproductive and maternal mental health and have done so for over 15 years at this point. And I come to this field with a background in public health. I worked in international women's rights before pursuing my PhD. And then my vision for my clinical practice was to marry all of those interests.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, my passion for women's health, women's issues came solely from the fact that I'm a woman and because I think these issues are profoundly important. I had not lived through anything specifically that kind of informed my career trajectory or my path forward until I did. So I don't know how much you know about my background from my Instagram or from my first book, but I was 16 weeks into my second pregnancy and I had a miscarriage while I was home by myself. My husband sort of darted through LA traffic trying to get to me as I was being talked through what to do by my OBGYN. When we got to her office, I'm faced with this quote unquote decision whether or not to wait for anesthesiology and then have to get a blood transfusion or have an unmedicated DNC. I ended up opting for the unmedicated DNC. All of this to say that I had been sitting across from women talking about the excruciating physical and emotional pain of pregnancy loss for all these years. And all the while, it was theoretical to me. I mean, I had tried to read all the books on the topic. I had gone to conferences. I did my training. And therapists, of course, can't walk in the shoes of every single patient that they sit with. But until I went through it firsthand, until I could understand it from a corporeal perspective, like a body-based perspective, I didn't know. So this experience changed the course of my life. And sooner rather than later, I could not help myself. I mean, I'm not one to typically hop on a soapbox. I'm not one who's running to get on a TED Talk stage. But when it came to this topic, I went to the research, and the research finds that a majority of women are blaming themselves, feeling a sense of shame, and feeling a sense of body failure in the aftermath of loss. And I was like, I can't live in a world like this. I have to do something to make some sort of dent in the cultural conversation or lack thereof. And so I, unbeknownst to me, started a campaign, the I Had a Miscarriage campaign, with my first New York Times piece back in 2014. And I was holding a sign. You couldn't see my face because I wanted everybody to be able to sort of envision themselves holding this sign. And it's just said hashtag I had a miscarriage. And this New York Times piece was truly an urging or a compassionate invitation for people around the world to look inside, to look at themselves, to reflect on their experiences, if they had them, of pregnancy loss, if they shared their story, if they didn't, why they didn't, if they didn't. Again, I do not think that everybody has to be public about their stories, but I do think that it's important, it's incumbent upon us to at least question, if we're not open about it, why we're not. My concern is that oftentimes it's born of the shame.
Yes. Where did you mentioned that you're used to the professional version of your story and how it's so intertwined with the personal. I was curious where this drive towards women's issues, even before practicing as a psychologist, but maybe where this came from. And were you always someone who was inclined to speak up when you saw injustice or share the thing that people are afraid to say?
That's a really important question. I've never been asked that before. I want to say that I have been that person. And it kind of harkens back to something that's sort of a childhood memory that's kind of embarrassing that my dad loves to bring up to me all the time, though, which was that he's like, do you remember the law firm that you started when you were like 7 in your closet? I had this little
no
wicker
way.
cabinet.
Yes, of course. My law firm.
That's the best.
I had this little wicker cabinet in my closet. I don't know why. And I think it was, for my toys and stuff. But instead, I wanted, file folders, and I wanted this to be for my clients. And this is what I called my law firm. But my clients in this case, I don't know how old I was. I mean, I think I was around 7, but my clients were kids. And so I guess even at a young age, I was actually inclined to help people who were in need, or people who, weren't living in situations where they felt protected or cared for. And I would actually sort of get my stuffed animals together and line them at the foot of my bed and have like what now seems like a therapy group circle.
Yeah, that's great.
And I would sort of read to them and then ask them their interpretation of the story that I was reading. So this is getting me laughing because I never think about these childhood memories very much. Yeah, I think I just kind of knew. Oh, also, I read Carol Gilligan's book when I was in college, or actually maybe just before. And that
she was your idol.
Was a game
and then
changer.
You got to study with her. Yes. Yeah.
I know. So it's like, I think I was already on that path to wanting to pursue something women's health. I also do come from a family of therapists. I always sort of wanted to become a psychologist, but then was trying to avoid the field, and went to public health first, but then ultimately here I am. So reading her book, it kind of solidified it all for me. I was like, wow. I knew though that I didn't necessarily want to be a researcher. I didn't want to follow in her footsteps exactly, but the qualitative research, like the sitting with people and getting to know and hear their stories and why they are who they are, that was everything to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Really quick before we I want to get into the storytelling element. I just want to really quick. So you have 2 kids. Is that correct?
Yes.
How old are your kids now?
Yes. So my son is 16. Oh,
wow.
my goodness. I can't.
Yeah.
And my daughter is 11. So my son was 3 when I had my miscarriage. And then my daughter was born, I got pregnant 3 months after my miscarriage. And so she's a result of that. So
And you had this, you were maybe in private practice already at the time, or you were a practicing psychologist, and then you built this platform and became a speaker and author, and you're having another kid. Like, how did all of this happen?
Yeah. Well,
When did you have the time?
When did I don't know. I mean, I still don't know. How do I have the time to have another book be coming out? Because I'm trying to think. I mean, when I just had one child, of course, getting used to being a mother was a huge adjustment. But then when I found my stride, when I found my rhythm, it felt doable to have days at work and then days at home with him. But then he started preschool, and it was like, well, I don't need to add in patience those days. Now I can write when he's at school, And so I think I love my field for so many reasons. The depth of the work is just everything to me. And then I love the fact that I work for myself, and I do get to kind of carve out the time that I need to take care of myself, take care of my children. But it's not like it's easy to juggle all of these things. And especially I find with writing, and because you don't just sit down and write. When it's an article, it is easier for me to just sit down and say, map it out for myself and just dive in. But a book,
Oh, yeah.
Wait, I'm going to show you this beast because it's, I got,
It's
it's like,
beautiful. Yes.
So
it's
good.
beautiful,
And
but
it's
I'm like,
thick.
I'm kind
It's
of
more
like,
than 10 pages.
when did this happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so, because I don't know if you know this piece, but a couple of weeks after my first book came out in 2021, I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
I saw this. I didn't know the
Yeah.
timeline, but
Right.
yeah. Ugh.
So that's to me even more why I can't seem to figure out how this book even happened because of how circuitous and how just, all encompassing
Yeah.
the cancer stuff was for a
Yeah.
time. And in many ways now it feels like it's in the rearview mirror, but in other ways it really doesn't. So I guess for me, my work feels like a lifeline, and so did this book. This mental health publishing company actually came to me to ask me to write this book. And at the time, even though I was, in the midst of navigating cancer, I was like, maybe this is a gift. Like maybe I need something outside of myself to really anchor me and to focus on. And
Yeah.
because it's such an expansion of my first book and my focus on miscarriage, because it takes on all of the topics that need to be normalized, all of the things in girls' and women's lives that we
Hmm.
do not talk enough about. I was like, this is it. This is going to keep
Mhm.
me going.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
even though like the pressure of writing it, was intense at times, it also felt like it gave me sorry, the dog.
You're good.
That's right. We have lots of dogs running around here too.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's part of the magic.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we were the storytelling to destigmatize is so impressive. And then also the line of work that you do, it's something that's so nourishing and you love doing it, but it's also an emotional experience that
Yeah.
asks a lot of you. Not just
Mm,
time, not just mental paying attention and I don't know, crossing T's and dotting I's, but like emotionally being invested, I think I would assume to
Yeah.
some
yeah.
degree with your patients.
Yes.
And that is an extra element that I was curious if you could speak to how you find how your cup isn't constantly depleted and how you kind of manage
Mm,
to stay present and emotionally available to all of these people that are
yeah.
as lovely as they are asking a
Right.
lot of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this question because, and I don't know. I mean, of course, I haven't interviewed a lot of other therapists. I have some friends who are therapists, and I don't know that they feel the same way. And I'm sure there's just, a spectrum of how people feel in this
Mm-hmm.
field. But it's like I do actually feel filled up
Hmm.
by the
Mm.
work. I know. I know that people think when they're not in the field, like, oh my goodness, you're listening to people all day. And then like, how do you transition to like listening to your children? And
Yeah.
I don't feel that way. I
Yeah.
actually feel like when I used to work behind a desk at a computer, like when I worked in public health, and I loved that when I was on the road, I went to Nigeria and Senegal and India, Nepal. And so when I was
Wow.
actually on the road and with people, that was enlivening. But when I was back, at the Harvard School of Public Health, like behind a desk, alone in a room, whatever, and at the computer, I was like, this doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So talking to people, being with them in the most challenging times of their lives is so profound. It's a privilege. It's so beautiful. And I don't know. I've never found it to be, I guess, draining or
Yeah.
whatever the adjectives that people would use
Yeah.
to describe it. Like, I end up feeling like not more awake, not more alive, but more sort of filled up myself. You know what it is? It's
Yeah.
talking truth with other people because
Mm-hmm.
so much of life is such bullshit,
I
and
know. Yes.
right. So it's like, I don't know. That's what I need. I like to
Yes.
talk about real things. I'd so much rather get to the heart of it.
Yeah.
Not that I expect, just any random person on the
Yeah.
street to tell me the story of their lives. That would be a lot.
I do. That's my, that's
It
how
would
I
be
wander
nice.
around typically.
I'm down for that.
I'm like,
Yeah.
why are you doing this? Tell me why you've come. Why are
What's
we
your
doing
trauma?
this?
Oh my God. That's so funny.
That's funny. Yeah, I get that
Yeah.
actually. That's one thing we've been hearing from a lot of our guests is that they're often doing these insane things. But to them, this is actually what fills their cup. They love
That's their
doing it.
purpose.
And
Yeah.
so that's the key is like if you're going to do it
Right.
all and not in a self-sacrificing suffering way, find the thing that actually gives back to you as you're doing it as opposed to sucking out of you.
I mean, what sucks the most out of me is perimenopause. And what sucks the most out of me is having to be on this estrogen blocker called tamoxifen after all of the breast cancer stuff. And so that's been honestly my biggest challenge as a mother, as a person, as a professional, as a writer. It's like, can I be on this quote unquote life-saving drug and do it all?
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to figure that out.
That's fair.
You know, some days I'm like, I'm tossing this out the window and I'm going to hope for the best. And then other days I'm like, that's the most dangerous choice you could ever make. And your kids are young and you cannot risk this. So that has been the most difficult thing I think that I've been navigating in my adult life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That kind of changes the whole, there's a hole in the cup. How do you keep filling it up?
And feeling kind of out of control that it's an outside thing that it's kind of golden handcuffs, right? If I take this and it's going to help me, and if I take it, it also hurts me. And how do I fix that? Yeah.
I know. I mean, my oncologist must be sick of me because I just keep asking her, like, there must be a way I can take this less often and it's still effective. Or what are the studies about, you know, whatever. And she's just like, this is the protocol. This is what helps.
I mean, it does get into like all of women's health. I mean, I think this is life-saving, but it also, and it doesn't always have to be just within women's health, but women's health is what I experience. Is that it always seems like there are these trade-off. Nothing is actually solving the problem. Nothing is actually making it feel better. Something is solving a specific angle of the problem, but also requiring me to just tolerate so much on the other side.
Feels
and
like
consider
there has
that
to be
a
a better
solution.
way for everything.
I know. That's
How have we
exactly
not
right.
figured this out?
Yeah.
We went to space today in 11 minutes. How do we not have a better cure for this? What's
I
happening?
know. I want it. We need it. But that is so true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to step back a little bit and get into storytelling. And I love that. I mean, I was already convinced of this, but you make a very compelling argument about the power of storytelling to destigmatize, influence, strengthen, and build connections, and are so powerful. It's certainly alongside data, but we remember stories. We don't necessarily remember data. There's one I'm going to read. If this is, I don't know what it means to read to an author what they've written, but
no, I love it.
There's an excerpt here that I really liked. This is in Normalize It. The stories in this book are often complicated and nuanced, just like the women they are based on. They are rarely about just one thing. This is not a book about neat and tidy endings. The work is often ongoing. This is my favorite part. Women and their complex stories don't need to be fixed. They need to be heard. I invite you to get messy with me, which is very much wrapped into what we're trying to support too, which is the messiness is all. Like that means you're participating in life.
Yeah.
And the importance of stories is often not, I think there are use cases for stories to say, and society needs to be better, and we need to figure out how to resolve this. But I think so many women stay quiet because we don't want to complain unless there's a solution. And I think therefore we don't say the thing in order for others to pick up on it and say, oh, I know how to fix this. So I loved when you said, we just need to be heard, not necessarily be fixed. I'm so glad that you're out there saying that. But I was also, it made me think about stories, and we are the stories we tell ourselves, or the various versions of this Joan Didion quote. But what kind of stories did you absorb about becoming a mother, given the topic of this podcast, but becoming a mother, and also a mother and a psychologist? And what were the models for you? And what was reality?
You are a journalist by nature, at the very depths of you. This is great. Thank you for these compelling questions. And I feel it's emotional actually for me to think about these things. So it's great. You know, remember in my late 20s, someone in my family asking, you know, are you starting to get worried that you're not, you know, with
Mm.
your partner yet or something? And what about kids? And kind of this pressurizing question. And I don't know. I felt like if I meet the right person, I will have children. I didn't feel like I will have children no matter what. Like I will do anything to have children, even if I, you know, am traveling through Africa and working in public health, because that was what I was doing at the time. But I did have like an inner confidence or something that I would meet someone and it would all come together. Like, I don't know. I just wasn't
Yeah.
worried about it. And I think maybe there was a Peter Panish element to that, maybe looking back. Like, I think I felt younger than I was. Maybe I still do. Well, no, tamoxifen took that away from me. But,
It'll
you know,
you'll get it back.
so I just trusted that things, I guess, would come together, and they did. And so when I met my husband's a twin, and our conversations around kids were interesting because, of course, you know, he didn't envision having quote unquote just one
Oh,
because
interesting.
he had not come from that. And I was more the type of person at the time. We met when I was, I think, 30. I was like, I just want to take it one by one. I can't predict how it's going to be. So I need to have one and see how that feels and see who that person is,
Yeah.
and see how we handle it and then go from there. But I mean, he knew, of course, that I was open to having more than one. I wasn't someone who was born knowing I had to have, you know, 5 kids and
Yeah.
that was going to be, you know, my future. And am I answering your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just curious. You have a lot of education behind you. You have a great career. And how did you think about, and maybe the answer, there weren't role models, but I'm curious where you found examples of what you wanted this life to be like, or how you might
Oh,
build
yeah.
this so that it could all work, whether that came from within your own family or that came from friends, TV shows, movies. Like,
I
I'm
think
curious.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually think it came from my academic role models, to be honest with you. I think, like Carol Gilligan, she should
Yeah.
really listen to this podcast. Um, you know, but I think it was through education and academia and learning and connecting with a lot of women in these fields
Yeah.
that really sort of helped guide me, not in terms of how I would mother necessarily, but how I would woman, I guess, or how I would
Yes.
be
Yeah.
in the world. And then that impacted who I wanted to be as a mother. And then I can also say that I had some models within my family who I knew I didn't want to be like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that informed choices that I made early on in my mothering, maybe even during pregnancy, and choices I made in terms of how I was hoping to even give birth. And then I would say, in terms of family, I think my father has been sort of the most profound role model for me in terms of talking about the truth of our lives. You know, it's because he's a psychiatrist, even though he actually doesn't work with patients, but he was the person I turned to when I was worried that I hadn't gotten my period yet. He was the person I turned to when I started getting breasts. He was the person I turned to when I started being interested in boys. He was the person I turned to when, you know, I had my pregnancy loss. And then, of course, he was the person that was here through the breast cancer as well. So he's been here through all the highs and all the lows. And he's the steady, consistent person in my life who, the other day, I had the chance to show him the book this weekend, and I got to read him the acknowledgement in the back that is about him, which is like, he is, I think, the reason why I trusted my stories, or I trusted that my voice and my perspectives mattered.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And shored up your sense of identity. Because I think that mother as a label for identity is often used excessively. Like, I think a lot of, myself included, and I say this too much on the podcast, but I don't necessarily lead with mother being my identifier. In many ways, it's like the last thing I might mention.
Yeah.
And it related to that is the power of different role models that inform how you show up as an adult that happens to have kids. And I
Exactly.
love that your father, there are many other stories, but I think the role that a father or anyone else in someone's family can play and how you want to show up how you want to grow up is as
Yes.
much about what it means to be a quote mother or as what your own mother might have been doing. Um,
And I can
yeah.
ask my dad, like we can now look back and talk about some of these things as well. And
Yeah.
I can be straightforward with him about some of his choices as a parent now
Mm-hmm.
that I'm a mother, and talk about some of my choices as a
Yeah.
parent and how they, jive with things that he did and in other ways, making decisions that weren't aligned with things that he did and why.
Yeah.
And so there's kind of like a real sort of fluidity and authenticity between us and openness about all of that now, which is
Yeah.
really nice. Yeah.
It's a
That might
special.
actually be this might be an interesting moment to ask about. Another question I had was, without being the name of a chapter, but throughout your whole book, the weight of expectations and the weight of shoulds that fall often on female shoulders. I think others carry them as well, but you talk specifically about expectations placed on mothers. I'm going to read to you again, but you say, to be a good mom, women are expected to minimize every other aspect of their identity as a partner, a sister, a daughter, a coworker, an employee with ambitions, a best friend, a community member. Quote, good mothers are expected to consistently demote their own basic needs for personal space, caring for themselves and looking out for their own interests. But it's not enough to simply lay these things on the altar of parenthood. Quote, good mothers must also be happy about it. This is where, when I emailed you, I was like, I'm hearing your voice. It's happening.
I love
Is
that. Thank
that
you.
you were able to write this, I think, because you have a sense of what the correct shoulds would be or what the right expectations are. And does that come from your dad? Like, how did you
That's
get a sense
interesting.
of we don't need to be like dithering around with this bullshit expectations. Like, let me tell
I
you what
know.
matters.
Right. I mean, I guess it's like there aren't shoulds. Like what matters would
Mm-hmm.
be like actually getting rid of them altogether so that we can together define them ourselves,
Yeah.
and that we can rewrite some of what society has just kind of plunked on our shoulders. That's just so
Yeah.
painful. It's like I
Yeah.
have these patients who are struggling with perinatal and postpartum mood and anxiety disorders. I feel like so much of the time, I mean, yes, it can be hormonal and it can be biologically based, of course, but so much of the time it's society and the
Yeah.
pressure. And it cuts women off from
Mm-hmm.
exactly what they need, which is community and support and speaking their truth out loud. And it's these shoulds that make them feel horrible. I should
Mm-hmm.
be into this. I should, have a spring in my step, even though I'm exhausted. I should
Yeah.
have endless time and energy to give, even though I don't.
Yeah.
And so these women who are struggling, and it's like 1 in 5 women dealing with this, and it can become very serious and alienating. So I just find it concerning. The shoulds end up pushing us into corners or closets or, tucking our emotions into our psyches, into our bodies in places
Mm-hmm.
where we just end up, I think, feeling lost, confused,
Yeah.
confounded, and
Totally.
ashamed of our truths because we're like, I'm not going to say that out loud. I don't want people
Yeah.
to think that I don't like being a mother. Or, oh, I fought so hard to be a mother. How can I feel this way? And it's like, of course you can feel this way.
Totally. Yeah.
You're allowed to feel this way. Say it out loud or write it in a journal, go to a therapist, whatever it takes to feel like it is not just worming around in your brain, swirling in your body, taking up all this time and energy.
Yeah. What have been the hardest shoulds for you?
Ah, writing this book. No. Yeah, no, I really did because of what I was going through physically and then how it impacted me psychologically. I did call my husband a couple of times while he was on work trips and just was like, I'm not going to finish this. I'm going to write to the publisher and let them know that I can't do this. He would talk me off the ledge. Sometimes that feeling would last just for minutes and sometimes days. And this kind of, I guess, the should around that is like, we should complete things. And it's like, well, and I knew I would feel shame had I not. If I abandoned this project, I would have felt badly about myself. And why is that? Is that because I'm high achieving and I feel like I committed to this and then they're going to be disappointed in me? What are the main messages that I've picked up over the years in my family, in culture, that led me to just forge ahead and force myself through it? Ultimately, of course, I'm glad it came together. And it was too important to me to walk away from. But there were sincere moments when I was like, this isn't healthy for me, like to have this much pressure on my shoulders when I'm not feeling great. And so, it's an interesting multi-layered should, I think. And then another should that I think is pretty present for me now with my kids older is just making sure that I am as present as I can be and that I'm exposing them to enough activities and things that will develop their minds and their hearts and make them into solid people. But like, there's no compass. There's no rule book. I mean, I know there's lots of books on parenting. I don't read those, but
I mean,
because it's like, that just actually makes me feel worse half the time. Yeah. So it's like, but there's nothing that's saying you are doing a great job. And sometimes it's okay to do good enough, like the whole concept of good enough mothering by Winnicott.
Yes,
Can we give ourselves that grace? I find it hard because I find I'm not a perfectionist per se. But I want so badly for my children to feel loved through and through, no matter what they do, but also be pushing them to be their best selves, but also not push too hard. I mean, it's just
classic.
It's kind of an impossible balancing act.
In the year of 2025.
Exactly. I know.
Yeah.
So I think, unconsciously put a lot of pressure on myself to be a solid mother.
Yeah.
Because I really want them to have that as a role model, but I also need time for myself and I also need to be on this podcast and be working. So it's like, I think at this point, at their ages, my dad asked them the other night at dinner, what's it like to see that your mom's coming out with a second book? And it was beautiful to hear their responses because they're like, we've been here through the whole process. They both used the word process. And I just thought that was great, and I'm sure it has taken time away from them, of course, but I think that with Winnicott's work and so many other people in my field, it's like, it's not about the quantity of time, it's about the quality of time that you spend with your children. And I think that's really important to remember from the moment you have a baby up until forever, even when they're off to college.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Within that too is something that this has been a theme so we've interviewed highly successful, just sort of objectively on resumes, many people that have founded their own companies, Pulitzer Prize winning writers. We have head coaches at like the highest level of college athletics and on the national team, all these people they're doing all of this amazing stuff. None of them seem to know how to accept help or ask for help. They're all like, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm carrying all these things. I'm doing it all. And there's a sense of pride in sort of doing it all on their own. But there's also a real desire I would love if someone could come in and like take my kid for a minute or any version of help. I'm just curious. Well, first, personally for you, if you know how to accept and ask for help, but also professionally, given what you do, this felt like a very useful moment, convenient moment to ask someone. How can high achieving people ask for help and feel okay accepting it?
Oh, okay. These are two different questions. I love them. I think I can ask for help and I think I can accept it, but it's interesting because I find that sometimes asking for help instead of just doing it myself actually creates more work for me.
Yes.
I'm sure you hear that all the time. So it's like, even just with book stuff or marketing and stuff, it's like, I would have loved people to be helping me, but it just like ultimately when there's so many cooks in the kitchen or people, don't know my voice or don't quite understand what the book or whatever, it just didn't gel. So it's interesting trying to get help. I think when my kids were young, yes, we hired a nanny and I felt comfortable with that and I trusted her and she loved them and she's still in our lives. With the ages they are, we don't need somebody full time and it is a lot harder to find part-time people. My husband and I definitely don't spend enough time, the two of us. Yeah. And so, but I will say that I asked for help when I was at the point of feeling like I was going to give up on the second book. And I hired somebody to get me to the finish line. She is, of course, mentioned in the acknowledgments.
Good for you.
And I have praised her to the high heavens forever and ever. And that made me feel like I could get this done. And she really turned it around for me. So I do think, and I have my own therapist. So in terms of asking for help emotionally, I do have somebody that I turn to when I want to talk about, my inner life or things happening in my life. So I think I can ask for help. But yeah, like on the logistical stuff, sometimes like I'd rather just do it myself because I think I do it better. Unfortunately.
We agree with you.
I know. This is a funny, going out on a limb, I'm curious. If you can think back to, if you can remember middle school or high school group projects, how did you show up in that setting? I was curious if you were someone who, and you would be not alone if you said yes, but someone who in a group project loved the team element, but like would just do it yourself to make sure it was done well.
I mean,
does that resonate?
That's what I would prefer. Yeah. I mean, and it's like, and it's partly, I think, why I love working on my own too, because I'm not having to deal with the conversations that sort of lead to not a lot or just round and round type of stuff. I like things how I like them. And I really like completion and order. And I like things to make sense. So
That's nuts.
I think I resonate with
you. Probably alone in that one. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, I know we're running up at time, so I just want to sneak in one last deeper question, and then we'll do very short answer questions. But we're all very intrigued by this idea of having it all. But do you think about having it all? Is it something that you're concerned about? And if you do you think about what it all is for you?
Love it. I try to think of it like we can have it all, but maybe not all at once, and then that helps me feel comfortable with the perceived failures or the things that don't go in the direction that I want them to. And I'm like, well, it doesn't mean something else won't come together, but I feel genuinely like I have all that I want. I feel I've created all that I need to create and then some. I mean, I didn't know I'd be writing a second book. I didn't know I would have these kids that are so wonderful. So in some ways, I have way more than what I ever pictured or planned. And I find it very painful scrolling on Instagram and feeling like, but we don't have this, like our house is like this, but it's not like that. And I've been to that country, but I haven't been to that one. So I find it anxiety producing, depressing, even sort of anger inducing to find myself in a place of wishing I had more or feeling I haven't done it all, it's just, it's too much. It's too much because when is it going to be enough? I mean,
right.
And I worry about that for myself. I do worry that once this book is born and it's flying through the world, and what am I going to be feeling in 6 months? Because I have said, I'm not doing another book project, but of course, I already have a proposal. So it's like, I don't know. And I do try to wrestle with that. Is this the pressure of culture to be producing more and always working on something and being able to say that you're doing something? Or is it and or is it this like genuine desire, like, no, but I have more to say though, and
Yep.
and I do like feeling productive and being engaged in all this psychological research and thinking more about these topics of like, how
Yeah.
can we help women say more of their truths out loud.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel I have it all, but sometimes I want more,
Yeah.
but mostly I try to kind of, I want to be happy and grateful with what I've got and be proud of the accomplishments that I've
Yeah.
achieved.
Thank you for sharing the point about, I said I would never do another book, and now I'm already doing a proposal. So when is it enough? You don't have to have an answer, and it can certainly change over time. But I think being curious about when is enough, and what is enough for me in this phase of my life versus the next phase of
Yeah.
my life. Like, I think people need to be comfortable with a longer term trajectory. One of the things that gave this podcast some urgency was people were talking about how having kids was just, the whole storyline was that it's awful, awful, awful. Having a kid is miserable. All of your needs and
Mm.
wants and dreams go to the side. And there are elements of truth in that. But Jessica, it says your recording stopped.
That's so weird. Did
I
it just
know.
pop up and say,
I just got a pop up that said,
huh, I wonder why.
no longer recording.
Your nightmare.
No, we're almost done. I should have just stopped pontificating. Oh, here she is. Let's see.
That was strange.
Are you back?
Yeah, I waited a
Yay.
minute because the thing said like to let it upload. So I wanted to be sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So that's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I realized though that there was a two-part question that I answered the part about if I asked for help, but I think you wanted me to.
Oh, I know.
If other people ask.
Yeah. Well, people are always looking for
Yeah,
tips.
yeah.
Like
but if you
how
want me
be
to
more
speak to that,
comfortable
I
asking
can.
for
Yeah,
help.
if you want me to speak to
Yeah.
that.
Well, we were talking about, I was saying I'm so grateful for you that you shared this idea of kind of grappling with what is enough and when is it enough to write 2 books versus 3 books, or when is it enough to, I don't know, grow your practice a certain amount, all the things. How do you define what is enough? And within that is an idea of maybe defining these things in different periods of time, different phases of your life. And I was then making this crazy leap to how it's hard to ask for help because there's a sense of urgency to just get it done now and make it right now. We don't have time to teach someone else how to do it, even though maybe if we could, then we could invest in someone that could be there over the longer haul, and that could actually be more helpful longer term. So anyways, these are a lot of leaps, which is classic me, but I was curious if you had thoughts on what you've seen help people like us who have trouble making time to essentially to let other people help them because it feels inconvenient.
I know.
In the short term.
It does. And I think that sometimes though we're onto something, I do think like I've searched around a lot for certain types of help and it just didn't surface. I think it comes probably down to trust. If we are putting our babies, like literal or our projects that are our babies, into the hands of somebody else, like what does that stir up? That stirs up our own stuff around what does it feel like to relinquish control? What does it look like to actually trust that somebody can carry this the way we might or the way we hope they could? And for some people, you were mentioning, a lot of high-powered folks, like, does it make people feel small, quote unquote, to ask for help? And so is that factoring into why they don't? So I think like self-reflection is the key here. Like, is it ego? Because I think all of this, like, am I going to do more? And have I done enough? And the achievement stuff, is it ego? Oh, can I say I did this? And everyone's posting about it, or it's on LinkedIn, or it's on everything so public.
Right.
I think it'd be interesting to see how we would all be functioning if social media didn't exist, if there weren't places where we were showing our resume in real time and our travels in real time, and all the cool places we took our children. Because I even think that, mothers are comparing themselves to other mothers and often coming up short, feeling like they're not doing enough. So sometimes I think asking for help is hard because the help out there isn't what we want it to be. And then other times it's because maybe our expectations are
We get in our own
Yeah,
ways.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing the free advice. Everyone should otherwise request an appointment with you. But thank you for passing that
I'm
along.
happy to give it all away for free to you.
We like to close with these 3 kind of short answer questions, if you would indulge
Of
us.
course.
The first is, if you could go back and tell your new mom self one thing, what would it be?
These make me want to cry.
Oh, yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
new mom self, if I could tell her that you've got this,
Mm-hmm.
it's so intensely overwhelming, and the hormonal changes are also intense, and the village we sort of wish we had or lived in, at least here, it doesn't exist in the society in the way that it could behoove us to live amongst other women that could help us in these early times. But really, I guess, like, you've got this. You have what it takes to raise the kind of people that you want to raise, and to really try to believe in the mess of it all, just like that it's okay to not like every moment of it. And it's okay to go to work and come back. And it's okay to pump and be running low on milk supply and like be freaking out about that. But just like knowing that, it did all work out, and it works out. I mean, it doesn't always work out perfectly, of course, but yeah, it would just be nice to have been able to be even more a cheerleader for myself during that nascent period. But, we can't be because we're just in it,
Yeah.
We're too deep in it to know.
Yeah.
Is there something that would have made it easier along the way, this journey of motherhood, that could have made it a little bit easier for you?
I don't know. I wish that I lived near more family, that I did actually live in a place like a kibbutz or something that is sort of set up to have other people mother the mother and also tend to the children as well, because we just don't have enough support ourselves. Everyone is cooing over the baby, but not necessarily checking in on the new mom. And
yes, Jessica.
From the get-go.
Right?
We'll see the baby in 24 hours and mom 6 weeks.
Exactly. And and by the way, new mom, you're supposed to look like you were never pregnant overnight. All of these pressures to just like get right to it, snap back, physically, and to just be so grateful that you're in a position of mothering now. So yeah, I mean, a kibbutz lifestyle could have really helped and felt good.
For sure. Okay, last question, then we'll let everyone run away. But oh no, really?
No.
I'm not even getting a.
Did you get a notification? Oh, weird.
God.
You're terrified.
I'm just praying that this all shows up within
one segment,
one fucking recording.
Can you hear me?
Hi. I'm sorry.
This is so strange. I'm sorry. This is the first time for us. We're gonna re-find our zen. I'm sorry. This has been a journey.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's fine. I'm scared to plug my ring light back in because they're all connected. So okay.
You honestly do look fabulous.
You look amazing.
Don't even worry.
Yeah, I didn't even notice.
Okay, right.
You're good.
No.
This is so funny. I'm going to ask you this question. It's going to feel ironic because you just received a call from your son, which I feel like is always
good
chaos.
Timing. Yeah.
I was like convinced he's in an accident whenever he calls me.
Yes. No, I get that. I would be the same way. Okay. Back in a zone where we were on the verge of tears talking about meaningful things, not tech support. No. Here's our concluding question, which was, your kids may not be listening, but one day they might be listening to this conversation. Is there anything that you want to say to them?
I will cry. I mean, my hope is like that I'm here when they hear this, and I want for them to live their lives to the fullest. And most importantly, I want them to feel that their parents have been consistent wells of support for them, and that we are people they can turn to for anything, And that even though culture wants to quiet pain points, telling our stories, replacing silence with storytelling is the only way forward. It's the only way for us to feel and be authentic, to ultimately create a solid community and to feel like we are living in our truths.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for hanging with us through various tech
Technical
fiascos.
snags.
I know,
Yeah.
this is
Stayed cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah.
for
I'm
sure.
pretending to be. Can you tell?
Yeah.
But no, this has been really, really, really helpful. So thank you so much for sharing your story and letting us ask about you alongside this amazing book. We'll talk more about it in our debrief, but normalize it, buy it, normalize buying, normalize it.
Yes.
I mean, I have to say thank you so much for these questions. They were so unexpected and so stirring in the most beautiful way. And I love the opportunity to talk with people, especially when it's this deep and this real. Because it feels like we're just having this intimate conversation that we all need to be having and can benefit from. So thank you.
Well, inspired by your work. So thank you. Back to you. Wow. For our listeners who are not going to see this because we edited it and you have no idea, but there are a lot of tech snafus that went through this.
Yes, Jessica put up with a lot of technical difficulties, so
earned
thank
her
you.
badge of honor as, I mean, she's a better human than I am. She was incredibly patient through various technical glitches, which I do have to harken back to my idol and hero in life, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who she, even on her very professionally produced, highly subsidized, financed podcast with like a fucking team of producers and tech people. Even then, there are interviews with people like Nancy Pelosi and like the Wi-Fi goes out and you're like,
uh-oh.
And she rolls with it. Although my favorite part is that Julia at every moment she goes, fuck.
It's me.
And I'm like, this is why I love you so much.
Oh yeah.
And she'll really be there and she's like, what the fuck? Oh fuck. Did it just I'm like, fuck. I'm like, yes.
I love that they leave it in.
They do. I mean, because she's a real deal.
It just is.
She doesn't care. She doesn't give a fuck, so she can say fuck.
Neither do you.
Okay, wow. So that was a trial of technology, but beyond that, such a powerful human who is so eager to take hard things and turn them into useful lessons for society. Not everyone is necessarily programmed this way. I feel like some people are, it's plenty to just try to like heal yourself. I think for some people, the healing of self, to heal the self, you also need to heal other people. That is part of the healing experience. And I feel like she very much, at least in what she shared, has such a drive to take hard things and make them useful for other people.
Yeah. Something I was thinking about, I wanted to say in the moment, but I needed time to like think, process this more, is it must be very vulnerable to be on the other end of things, where it's like she asks people to come in her space or however she does her sessions with her clients to be vulnerable and real and honest and share their stories, whatever. And then she's doing it, but in a large platform in front of everybody.
I know.
And then like once you put that out there, then it's out there. And so then people are going to have preconceived notions of who you are and your decisions or your action, whatever, everything that you've said. That what a vulnerable position to put yourself in.
Yeah.
And then still continue being a therapist,
Right.
practicing therapist.
Yes.
And it's like, okay.
Yes. Yes.
I
totally. I mean, her Instagram handle is I Had a Miscarriage, and her first book is I Had a Miscarriage, and stories about it. And she was very public on all sorts of very high profile media about that story. And I often think about this and I think about it with us too, but people that have found their way, probably not by choice, but sort of like by necessity, like a calling to these platforms that are rooted on things that are actually so sad and hard. Folks that are out there, like platforms around grief and how, and sort of your brand is built around something that was maybe the hardest thing that you ever went through, and how that can be healing for a little while, but I'm sure over time you're like,
It's
"Can
exhausting.
we move on?"
Yeah. Yeah, I
Can I
actually did go through a lot of fucking shit. Anyways,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But also,
yeah,
and I think that's what's so fucking weird about society
yeah.
today is that this overlap of personal and professional branding
Mhm.
is, and the need to make things personal in order for them to
Yeah.
be engaging to the audience is requiring people to just basically turn their lives over
Mhm.
to these causes in a highly personal way, not just I'm showing up in some I don't know, not in a dismissive way, but not like the work isn't through an organization. The work is through exposing myself. And that just requires
A
so
lot.
much.
Yeah.
And that people
It's
are willing
the
to do it is like, it perpetuates this thing, but then it becomes necessary.
yeah. It's the pro and con of social media and like extreme
Yeah.
um what's the word I'm looking for?
Vulnerability, exposure, transparency.
Transparency,
Okay.
extreme transparency of just like
Yeah.
everything is out there for everyone
Yeah.
to see, from the clothes you wear to the trauma that you carry. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah.
and there's some beauty in it of finding these communities, right? Like
Yeah.
in her story, where it's like all of these people are feeling empowered and comfort and whatever. But then there's also, I think Jessica touched on it briefly, of just like, then there's all this like, why am I not doing that? Or I'm not doing this. So then she has
Yeah.
this whole concept of good enough, which is also
Right.
awesome. But then, like, in theory sounds incredible, in in practice is much
Yeah.
more difficult when
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
live in this age.
Yeah.
So
I think another thing that as I reflect on it, in the heat of the conversation, we were moving on to other things, but I think really important to talk about the fact that for her, one of the things that informed how she showed up as an adult, which not exclusively as a mother, but the role that her father played in helping her learn who she wanted to be and how she wanted to show up in different like parts of life. And you say this very well, V. You're often like, it's one of those things where you can take things from it, take different elements of it. Actually, Megan Joyce said this in her interview. I was asking something about like mentors or something, which is such an annoying question. But she was saying, like, of course, there's no one person who I want the entirety of their existence and how they approach life. But I pick and choose elements of things and I call on those tools and tactics and capacities and characteristics at like different moments. And I think what informs how we think about motherhood and life with kids and working outside the home and raising children doesn't necessarily have to be rooted in, if you had a mother, like that doesn't have to be the source of it. Like mother, and this is like at the root of so much of this podcast, like to be a mother is really like to be a human who's also responsible for like a little human while also being responsible for themselves. And so there's so many ways and role models that do not at all need to be other mothers to inform that. And in some ways, I feel like given what we're still slated with today, like maybe not a bad thing to look elsewhere too. Like I think being a mother has been so hard and is rooted in so much baggage and expectation and has been a difficult thing. And it's sort of like to look at how other people are doing it might, like maybe we need to, what's the word? Not break, but disrupt. Disrupt the brand of mother.
I think it's cool. The past 3 or so people that we've talked to have brought up non-traditional roles and expectations within their family unit, but then also, like Jessica was talking about, in her own, growing up. And I think that's so awesome. Like you just said, disrupting like these gender roles, these title roles, whatever, that like mothering is also, you can learn how to mother from your father. And that like we all have such different experiences growing up and how that translates to who we choose to learn from and then parent from. It's pretty cool.
Well, thank you, Jessica, for joining us.
Yes.
Everyone needs to go out and purchase Normalize It. It is available for pre-order. Well, this is coming out April 22nd, so I'm going to do that again.
Coming out the same day.
Everyone needs to go out and purchase Normalize It, which has just been released if you're watching this podcast and listening to it on time. April 22nd, the book came out. Pick it up wherever books are sold. And she also has I Had a Miscarriage is also a really like meaningful, like compelling story too from a couple years ago. So both of these are amazing. But yeah, normalize buying, normalize it.
That's right. Good tagline, Sarah.
You're welcome. Okay, V, where is our joy other than when technology works? That's my moment of joy.
I have two interconnected moments of joy. My first is that like the last few times we've been having these awesome discussions with people, we've been fighting the sleep sleep battle, and he did a great job of sleeping through that. So I very much appreciate him doing that.
Rose the occasion.
Yes, but then when he woke up, he grabbed my finger and I felt the tip of a tooth coming through. And I am going to hold on to joy and hope that this is just going to be turning a corner.
Yes.
And he's going to sleep so good after this. It was the first time, like, I've been convinced he was teething since birth.
Yeah.
And so this was the first time that I actually feel like I'm like, oh, wait, he really is
that's
teething.
so good.
So I'm so excited.
Yes, that'll explain everything.
I felt like the top ridge.
For sure.
It's so exciting.
Yes.
Also,
yes.
super cool.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Good job,
That's
Keith.
my joy. Yeah.
What if that could be explained like whenever we were in a bad mood? It was like, turns out I was just growing a tooth.
Well, I think about it and I'm like, when my wisdom teeth were growing in, because yes, I'm a grown-up who never got them taken out because I was too scared.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah.
And like, imagine in the small human's life, this is the greatest pain that they've ever felt. It probably does really fucking hurt.
Yeah.
They're like, compared to what? Like, compared to like.
Yeah. Totally.
So I sympathize.
That's funny.
It's the equivalent of like us, grown-ups being like, I was just hungry.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sorry I was so mean, guys. I was just hungry.
Yes.
I'm sorry I was so off. I was just hungry.
I know.
Sarah, where's your joy?
I think
I know where your joy is.
Where is it around? Is it behind me? Where is it? I don't know.
Upstairs.
It's
your
upstairs.
Suitcase.
Oh my God, my suitcase came back.
Yes.
This is a saga for like it needs its own podcast. But yes,
truly,
I potentially was my own fault, but I did lose my luggage on a flight a month ago. It was extreme circumstances, and I fled the plane without my overhead luggage.
That makes
which was all of my luggage. And
2025.
Did not realize until we were 100 yards away in the airport, and the shuttle bus had left, and it was Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Fuck. Like I was like, and then it's been basically 3 to 4 weeks of me coming to terms with this, like saying goodbye to the luggage, saying like that might be 2/3 of the things I actually wear ever, and they're gone. And how do I like recover myself? And
also the mental anguish of I can't believe I would have done that.
What a moron that I left it there.
Past that though, because it's just not.
But yeah, it showed up, as V said, looking like a bomb on my front step. It was like covered in all sorts of plastic and papering. Like it looked, if I had walked by, I would have run away from the house thinking that something bad's going to happen.
I would have been
That's a good solution for joy. But I will say, because I'm me, the deeper part of that, the joy is that I had actually reached a place where I was like, I don't even care if it comes back.
You're so funny. After all that.
Good for me.
Yeah, good for you.
I worked that
awesome.
problem. I worked the problem. Sometimes the problem is me. And I really therapized myself over why I was so distressed about this and reached a place where I was accepting of the circumstances. And now look, delivered.
Look how awesome I am and chill.
I'm so cool.
Were you
so
actually
low-key.
okay with it at that point? You were actually like,
yeah,
it's fine. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And then, and then it became more just like, I've accepted this. And then there were like random hangups as they were trying to get it through customs. It was also an international flight. So this was coming from Amsterdam.
Made it really complicated.
It was a whole story. And now I have my things. Yeah. I was going to say, otherwise my joy was in trying to find a way to not take it so seriously. And I really, this quote about like,
take what?
Life, anything, all of it, including losing your luggage, including the fucking tech not working in a podcast with one of our like bigger guests that we've ever had would be nice. if things work seamlessly. But of course,
Yeah.
life doesn't work that way. It's not going to take us seriously. We shouldn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
And whatever the quote is, that some things are too important to be taken seriously. I do think there's a limit.
I agree.
And once you believe that, your lost luggage will be returned to you on your your front step.
I know that's right.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode and we can reach even more rock stars like you. The Mothers is a production of Backline Media, shining a light on those who carry the team.